Hi everyone, it's Dr. Leslie. Welcome to the Healing Migraines Naturally podcast. And today I want to talk about a topic that it's actually kind of like a pet peeve, a topic of mine. This is a little bit of a soapbox topic for me. I want to talk about the phenomenon in the natural medicine world where you have a lot of natural medicine practitioners calling themselves healers. So this is something that whenever I see a natural medicine practitioner describe themselves as a healer, it's like nails on the chalkboard. And so, this is, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm under this big umbrella of natural medicine, alternative medicine. And there's a wide variety of practitioners that are under the umbrella that I'm under, but I see this with a wide range of natural medicine practitioners. So it could be, a fellow naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, functional medicine doctors, a lot of, you might call them more like health coaches, those types of practitioners. They will describe themselves as healers. So obviously, if you're listening to this, you are probably prone to migraines and headaches, or you're really in the throes of really suffering from chronic headaches and migraines. And so just culturally, when we have a chronic health concern, we view that as something that is almost like something that is outside of us that attacked us. One of my mentors, the great late Jim Sensenig, he would always kind of jokingly ask, where did the diabetes come from? Did it just fall out of the sky and hit you? And this is the thing, right? It's like, where did my health conditions come from? Did I catch migraines? Did I catch diabetes? Was it something in the environment that caught on me? Or it's almost like this little monster that jumped on our back and is torturing us or generating these symptoms. But culturally, we view disease and the symptoms that we're experiencing, the things that are causing us suffering, we view them as external to us, something that is sort of acting on us externally or from the outside, right? Even though we're feeling it in our body, it's something that almost attacked us from the outside. So we kind of have this conception already that the disease, the chronic condition, it's external to us. And so therefore the solution follows the conception of the problem. This is always the case, right? So, and this is why I try to talk about some of these cultural undercurrents a lot on this podcast, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not happy with your medication response, having to take more and more medications as the years go by. I'm sure you've dabbled in natural therapies and maybe you're unsatisfied with those too. But the things that we choose to do to address a problem are always going to flow sort of logically or rationally from how we view the cause of the problem, how we view the problem in the first place. So we sort of have this conception that when we're not feeling well, we have a chronic condition, there's something from the outside coming in and disturbing things. And so therefore, we're looking for an external solution. And so the most obvious example of an external solution is going to be a medication, like a prescription medication or an over-the-counter medication. And so when we take that medication, we're taking an external agent, an external substance, and we're just swallowing the pill, we're just taking the injection. We have to do something to administer the medication, but we're not any sort of active participant. It really doesn't take that much effort to swallow a pill or give yourself an injection or have somebody give you an injection. We're kind of like the passive recipient or the passive actor receiving this external solution to a problem that seems to be external to us, right? So often we look at everything now as genetic, and with genetics, right, I've got migraines because of my genetics. Well, that's just a fancy way of saying I have bad luck, right? This is that sense that what's causing our suffering is kind of external to us. So then we take a remedy, a solution, a medication that we are sort of the recipient of. I mean, even we didn't make the medication. We didn't come up with a formula. We didn't do the studies. Medication may not even have been made in our country, right? It's like completely external to us. And we don't have to expend that much effort to take that medication. And then we just administer it, we take it, and then we wait and we see what happens, right? And there's, if I take an Imitrex for a migraine, I just have to wait for that to go to work on my biochemistry and hope and pray that I get some relief, right? There's nothing that I would do to activate the Imitrex or, make the Imitrex work better or antidote the Imitrex, right? It's not like, well, take this Imitrex and then I want you to, go for a walk to make it work better, right? I mean, there's absolutely no sort of like external, like thing that I have to do in addition. The medication is just going to kind of do its biochemistry on me, and I'm just going to wait for that to happen. So again, I'm just sort of like passively waiting for the medication to work, to kick in, right? So we have this experience, right, where, okay, these migraines came from somewhere, and then I'm going to take this external agent to get relief. So I am totally sort of removed from this whole experience. Now, I think intuitively, we know that this is false, right? So we know that when we're taking the medication, it's not a root cause solution. We're just doing it to feel better. We have an intuitive knowing. There's something that makes us a little bit uneasy about this whole thing, even though it's sort of the cultural conception that we're operating under. So there's this like tension, there's this disconnect, there's this little bit of lack of alignment between, well, on the one hand, I kind of think this is the case and this is true, but on the other hand, I don't really think that's the case. I don't think that's true. And that sort of disconnect is what drives people to look for other solutions, and then people will go into the natural medicine space or alternative medicine space. This is exactly what happened to me when I started getting chronic migraines. And when I went into my doctor, I thought that doctors got to the root cause and helped you like fix the problem so that I wouldn't be getting migraines anymore, but that's not what she did, right? I kind of had this rude awakening where she just gave me a prescription, and I was very shocked by that. I talked about that in my migraine story podcast, but that sort of inner intuitive knowing that we're not quite on the right path. And by right path, I mean the path that's actually aligned with reality, the truth of what's going on. And so people then go into this alternative medicine space, this natural medicine space. But then we have to really ask ourselves, is the underlying way of treating my migraines or my symptoms, my chronic condition, is it actually coming from a different philosophy when I'm going to a natural medicine provider? And this is sadly usually not the case. So because all of us have been steeped in this cultural environment, we're all sort of kind of coming from the problem. We're coming to the problem from the same perspective. Even the vast, vast majority of natural medicine providers. And so most natural medicine providers, they're just using their natural substances, like their supplements or natural remedies, whatever they may be. They're using them in place of the medication. And that also is not going to be very effective. So what's the difference? So let me ask you, if you've been to a natural medicine provider and they have given you supplements, and so what's the experience, right? So they say, okay, take this pill, go home and take these pills 3 times a day with your meals, in between your meals. Go home and take these pills. So you just take the pill, you swallow it, and then you wait, right? So what's the difference in your experience as the person who's sick and suffering? What's the difference in your experience? You're taking a pill of stuff that you've been given the name of it, right? Like, so if I have this pill and okay, the pharmacy said it's Imitrix. Okay, I have this pill that I was given and I was told it's Butterbur. So I just know the name, but what else do I really know about the substance? I didn't make it. I just bought it, right? I mean, even natural, the ingredient pipeline on natural substances is still mostly overseas as well, because most things are made overseas, right? So it's like, okay, I'm just taking something that I really don't know anything about, that I have no connection to, and then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to wait, all right? So again, how much effort, connection, change is actually occurring with me even when I'm going to a natural practitioner. And I see this over and over again because most of my clients have been to other natural medicine providers before they come to me. They've been to a functional medicine doctor, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, other naturopathic doctors, health coaches. I'm usually not the first, so-called natural medicine provider that they are working with, that they're seeking out. And so, as part of my intake process with a new client, I'm reviewing what are your prescription medications, what natural supplements are you taking, or natural therapeutics are you taking? And over again, I see these long lists of supplements that they've been recommended to take by a professional that they consulted and paid for that advice. Or now what's also very prominent are, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, there's so many people selling all these supplement formulas and stuff like that on Instagram and TikTok. So maybe, some of them are, from little clips or other podcasts and so on that they've kind of added into. But what are you really changing? You're just taking a substance and you're just waiting for it to act on your body. You're not actively engaged in a process, right? You may have researched a lot. You might have, spent a lot of energy on researching and so on, but you're not really actively engaged in anything that's changing you, right? It's just kind of taking more pills, more of a passive type posture. And this is not how healing and health restoration is going to take place. If you're taking a supplement, why do we call them supplements? They're called supplements because they are a supplement to the other changes that you are making to facilitate healing and health restoration. They are not supposed to be, the 10 horses pulling the cart. It's supposed to be like a little add-on, a little helper. So this is something that I think is very important for people to understand. To restore your health involvement, you have to be actively engaged in making changes in a wide variety of, let's call it, your life. We got out of a state of health because the environment that we are in, our physical environment, mental, emotional, even spiritual environment, is out of alignment with the environment that is best suited for human flourishing. And so just taking a capsule of something, just taking a pill of something, even if it's natural, is not going to facilitate a change in our environment. We have to make changes to change our whole environment, that really truly holistic environment that we are in, to bring it into alignment with an environment that's suitable for human flourishing. And I will say, we humans, we are very adaptive. We are unlike any other animal on the planet. Other animals, they have to live in very specific environments. They have to live in very specific, latitude. They have to have a very specific diet. They have to have, particular climate. We humans, we can flourish from the Arctic to the equator. So we are highly adaptable, but there are some limitations to that. And so we have to live, again, we humans, we also always want to be like God, right? So we always want to just say, well, if I want to do it, then I'm going to do it, right? But there are some limitations that we have to live into. We didn't write the rules of physics and biochemistry and physiology and so on. So while we are highly adaptable, and there isn't just like one particular way that we have to live to be in a state of health, or even more specifically, not have migraines, we do have to live within the laws and the parameters that have been set down within the universe. And so we have to, as part of the healing process, we have to gain an understanding and gain an awareness of where were we not quite in alignment with what's going to be a suitable environment for us humans. And so to make those changes, right, you don't get that in a pill. You don't get that in a capsule. You have to take an active role. You have to be actively engaged. And many times it can be a little humbling, right? Because we ultimately, as part of the healing process, for many, certainly for me over the years, for many of my clients, it's a process of taking an honest and a hard look at some of the choices that we made, some of the environments that we put ourselves in, and had we known better, we would have done better. This isn't to beat ourselves up. This isn't to, but it's just to take an honest, but, compassionate look at some of the things that we have, if you want to say, kind of co-signed, that were not in alignment with what was going to be best for our human flourishing. And that can be very humbling. It can inspire a lot of remorse, regrets, a lot of emotions. And working through all of those emotions is, for many people, also a very critical part of their healing process. And again, there's no pill for that. You can't get that in a pill. So this is, like I say, it's something that isn't talked very much about, particularly when you go, particularly if you go to a medical doctor, they're really not going to have this conversation with you at all. I think in the natural medicine space, I think a lot of practitioners will kind of pay a little bit of lip service to this. And the lip service might be giving you a few handouts or, healthy sleep habits or, some of these healthy habits, handouts and so on. But that's really lip service. It's not really helping people kind of do a deeper maybe inventory or gain a deeper understanding as to, why did I start staying up until midnight in the first place, right? Like a lot of people get themselves in a situation where they start staying up later and later, and then unfortunately that starts to shift their hormonal cascades, that starts to shift their biochemistry, and then now they're having a great difficulty falling asleep, and now they have insomnia. So, just giving somebody a handout, okay, go to bed at 10, get up at 6, well, that's not really what's going on here, right? We want to take a deeper look as to what drove going to bed later and later and later in the first place. And when we have that understanding, then we can more easily start to bring ourselves back into better alignment, say with our sleep habits. Again, you don't get that from a handout, and you don't get that just from a capsule, okay? If you have gone to a provider and all they have done is given you pills to take, and that's it, and that provider could be a medical doctor with a prescription, or it could be a natural medicine provider with a long list of supplements. If that's all you've ever been asked to do, take these pills and then here's some handouts to tidy up a few habits, this is why you're not getting the result that you're looking for, because it takes more personal work and personal change, it takes more personal engagement to go deeper into the reasons why we got out of a state of health or out of a state of alignment in the first place. And so let me bring it back to this concept that irritates me when people call themselves healers. So your provider is not your healer. The healing that's taking place is happening because of your active engagement, your own good care that you're taking of yourself from a perspective of greater self-knowledge and self-understanding. And like I say, many times there's some remorse. There's some regret that has to be worked through too. You're doing the healing because every living thing on the planet has been designed to have a healing mechanism when there's an injury, when there's a sickness. So, you can see this at play even with plants. So you might be, on a little hike in the woods and you come across a beautiful big tree, and it's very obviously like there's a scarring on the bark on the trunk of the tree. There was some injury to the tree. Maybe the tree got hit by lightning. And you can see that the trunk, the bark, grew back over the injury, right? So there's even like plants heal themselves. Animals can get sick and they will recover. This is how things were designed. Things that are alive were designed with an inherent healing mechanism built into it. So when we run into that tree in the woods where clearly there was an injury to it and it healed over, right? The tree is alive, right? Maybe hundreds of years later after the injury. There may be a scar there. It may not look perfect, but it's alive. It healed over. Was there a healer involved in that? Right? There was no human healer that sat in front of that tree and, recited incantations to make that trunk heal itself, make that bark regrow, right? The tree was designed to do that after an injury. So the tree didn't take any capsules of anything. So we are designed to heal and repair. When we give our body, and when I say body, I mean sort of like our entire aspect of ourselves, because we're more than just a physical body. But when we give the body, in the broadest sense of the term, in the truly holistic sense of the term, what it needs, it's designed to respond to that. We hope that we can heal faster than the disease progresses, right? Now, again, migraines are not a terminal problem, thank goodness. We may feel like something horrible is happening within our brain, but thank goodness, migraines are not a life-threatening condition, thank goodness. So, the question is, can we heal? Can we activate this healing process? Can we identify what our body needs from a holistic level? Are we able to give ourselves that? And then can we heal faster than the disease progresses? So when people call themselves healers, when practitioners call themselves healers, it's putting the practitioner, this outside person, as having the impact and the control over our healing process. And this is why this grates on me so much. It's just like this external supplement or this external, medication. Now I need this external person who's a healer to come in and heal me, right? And so again, it's like we're just going to sit back and the healer's going to come in and with their magic, they're going to heal us. And that that doesn't happen either. That's not how this works either. So when people call themselves a healer, I'm like, what? Why are you saying this about yourself? This is completely false. So, I am a guide. I'm someone who has walked this path. I mean, I'm still walking the path until the day I die. I'm going to be walking on this path, right? And so I'm somebody that has walked the path, has dedicated my life to study and practice and so on. So I have knowledge, I have experience, I have some wisdom, but I'm just the guide, right? You have to walk on your own path. I can, help one of my clients. I love this analogy. She said, you're like my guide through the jungle, and you helped like hack the jungle leaves down so that I could walk through this jungle. And the further and further I walked, the less and less, jungle overgrowth there was, and the path got clearer and clearer. And I thought, yeah, that kind of hits it. Like, I'm here to help you hit down the leaves and, with a machete and like, let's clean this up. And, I think that this is the path. I think we got a path here, and we're going to take this, and I'm going to help guide you through this. But you've got to walk on the path. I'm not doing any healing. You're doing the healing. So we want to make sure that we are not perpetuating a situation where we are just sort of the passive actor, just the passive recipient of either the symptoms or the disease, the passive recipient of the medication or the supplements, or the passive recipient of some sort of healing that is coming from some other person. We want to think of ourselves, because this is true, this is accurate. We want to think of ourselves accurately as the person who's doing the healing, who's walking themselves down the path through the confusing jungle, right? Because when we're not feeling good and our body is generating tons and tons of symptoms, it's like you're in a jungle and you can't see, 2 feet in front of you because you've got all the jungle vines and everything else. There's a path forward for you, but you can't see it. So yes, it's helpful to have a guide. It's helpful to have somebody that's walked through the jungle before. But I'm telling you, the path that I had to walk through the jungle through, the path that another client of mine had to walk through the jungle through, is not the same path you're going to have to walk through. Everyone has to go through that jungle on their own unique path. Because I've been through the jungle so many times, not only with myself, but with so many other people, I kind of know the lay. I can guide you and I can help you, but you're going to have to walk through that unique path, through your own healing, your own health restoration, your own process of feeling better. So a lot of times, when I have someone reach out and they book a free consult call with me and we talk about, their symptoms and what they're struggling with right now, they'll say, well, is it going to be hard? How hard is it? And I can tell you it's going to be hard. I feel for you. I wish I could say, oh yeah, this is going to be real easy. Oh, I've cracked the code and, this is just going to be a walk in the park and it's just going to be super easy. But for everybody, there's some aspect of getting through that jungle that is going to be very hard for them. And I don't know ahead of time what's going to be hard for any individual person. I know what was hard for me, and I can see what's hard for my clients. But again, what you're going to find difficult is going to be very different than what someone else is going to find difficult. And because I've been a guide to so many people, I can help people, right? It's like, you're trying to climb a mountain and you've got a guide with you, you've got a Sherpa with you, but you've got to get to the top. And what little section of the mountain might be hard for you, another person might breeze through that part. but they're going to find another part of that mountain climb challenging, and you found it easy. But I can tell you, to actually restore your health, if you have chronic migraines, any chronic condition, there's going to be some really hard parts. And some of them might be, you might have 5 habits that are undermining your health, and 4 of them might be super easy for you to change, but the 5th one might be really tough. And in those cases, you need more than like one of these handouts, right? You need somebody that's there for you to really help you. What is the real difficulty? Why is this particular thing hard? And then how can we either mitigate that? How can we have a deeper insight into what's happening in our unconscious that's making it difficult for us? That whole process of resolution, it's very helpful if you have someone to help you with that, a guide to guide you through that and to support you and to encourage you and motivate you. And so it can be things like changing habits that can be hard for us that are struggling with migraines. There's usually a mental and emotional component to our migraines. And so that can be very hard to do the mental and emotional work. What is it about getting into conflict at work that really tips me over into a migraine? That type of work can be challenging. And again, it's helpful if you have someone there to support you through it and guide you through it, but you've got to do that work. When I'm working with my clients, helping them, see these things on the mental and emotional side, I can't read their mind. I don't know what's in their unconscious, but I can help guide them to a deeper level of understanding for themselves. But they have to come to that understanding. So I'm not the healer. Nobody is a healer to you. You are the person who's doing the healing because you've been designed, your body is designed to bring itself back into health, back into better functioning biochemistry and physiology when you give it what it needs on a physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual level. And that's how life on Earth here was designed. So now that I've talked about this, it might be interesting because if you're listening to my podcast, you're probably listening to other natural medicine providers' podcasts and so on. You're probably on some other mailing lists and so on. So take a look. Is this practitioner, are they calling themselves a healer? What position are they putting themselves in relative to me or relative to their clients, relative to the people that they are, again, they're not healing people, but they're guiding people, they're advising people, right? They're sort of walking with people. That's what they're actually doing. They're not a healer. So look for that and see what you notice, see what you see within this industry. I always feel like I'm in sort of like the wild, wild west being part of this alternative medicine or natural medicine industry. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful practitioners that are doing really God's work, really doing the Lord's work. But unfortunately, there's a lot of really crazy stuff that goes on too. So see what you notice and let me know if this resonates with you. Leave a comment below if this resonates with you. And I hope this gave you a little bit more insight into taking a look at, okay, where am I coming from with this? Am I kind of coming from am I kind of coming at the treatment, whether it's conventional treatment with medication or natural medicine treatment? Am I just like passively taking something and just waiting for something to work? This is like kind of like this magic pill concept, right? Oh, I'm just going to take this magic pill and everything's going to be better. And that's not how it works. That's not how healing works. Any natural therapies are effective because they're a additional little supplement, an additional little nudge, an additional little helper to help the body do what it is supposed to do. It's natural therapies or natural substances shouldn't be used like medications to fight or combat symptoms. They should be used as little helpers. So if they should be used as little helpers with the larger work and larger changes that we are making from a truly holistic sense. So think about what you have been advised to do in the past, and if it's kind of passive, if it's just, well, I had a couple handouts and then I took these pills, and I went on, don't get me started on these diets. So I spent a lot of podcast hours talking about these ridiculous, migraine diets, and depending on your health concern, you have to have a different diet. So, other than, tidying up my diet or going on like a really restrictive diet and, doing a couple handouts and then taking things and just waiting for something to happen, that's why you haven't been happy with the results. So if you've been looking for a practitioner that is actually going to work with you on this type of level, again, everybody in the alternative medicine space uses the word holistic. This is a holistic approach. But I hope this helps illustrate what an actual holistic approach looks like. So if this resonates with you, I'd invite you to book a free consult call with me. Go into the description for the link to do that, and I would love to talk with you. And let's talk about where you are currently at with your migraines, what you've already tried in the past, and let's talk about, what you would actually like to experience or achieve with your health or in your life. If this resonates with you, if this describes the type of approach that you've really been looking for, then please reach out, book a free consult call with me. I would love to talk with you. It's a free call. We get on the phone, we talk about where you're at with your migraines and any other health concerns that you have right now. And then we talk about a game plan to get you feeling better and get you back into your life, get you off your medications. And if you're taking handfuls of supplements, get you off those supplements as well. And then you will have the freedom to not only not be dependent on these external substances, but have the freedom of waking up in the morning without doing the head check, right? The notorious head check. You wake up in the morning, I'll check my head. What kind of day is it going to be, right? It's not a question of what kind of day is it going to be because what exciting things do I have planned or what things am I going to contribute to my family or my community. It's, okay, what kind of day is it going to be based on how does my head feel when I wake up? Let's get you out of that, okay? So thanks for watching. Great to talk to you guys today, and I will talk to you soon.